Hello and welcome to Teacher Talk, the podcast for teachers who are lifers but still want to have a life. This is Jared, and as always, I'm joined by my partner, Johanna. Hey, Johanna.
Hi, Jared.
What are we going to talk about today?
We are going to talk about some key tricks that will help make whatever your behavior management plan is work.
Oh, we don't need a podcast for this. We just need a listicle. We say 10 crazy tricks to implement your behavior management plan. Number 7 will surprise you.
Yeah, we're not doing that,
Okay.
though. Because it's not that simple.
Will number 7 surprise me?
Number 4 will surprise you.
I can't believe number 4. Listicles aside, what's number 1?
Number 1, trust the fact you have this behavior management plan. And so when things start to go wrong, when a student is starting to make poor choices, don't react. Wait and watch. You have a plan. You're going to follow your plan, but you want to figure out why the plan is being needed to be used in the first place. And so you have to figure out what is causing the behavior so that you can prevent it in the future.
So because you've already figured out how you're going to react because you have the plan, you're freed up to, instead of thinking about, oh no, something's going wrong, how do I react? That's already covered. You can say, oh no, something is going wrong. Why?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, because people, when they see that something's going wrong, they panic, they react because it could get worse. But now you don't have to panic. And in that moment, that's what separates teachers who have constant behavior problems from teachers that don't, is we figure out why it's going wrong and we address that issue.
Johnny is throwing his pencil. I don't know. What's the behavior problem that you're going to observe?
A student is frustrated with their learning and does something different. Let's say they put their head down on the desk, or they turn and talk to a friend, or they stop learning.
Okay.
So your instinct is, I just saw you have your phone out, you have it hidden under the desk. I'm going to go over there and I'm going to enact the behavior management plan. And instead, wait. Because what if in 5 or 10 seconds you put your phone away? Or what if it escalates and now you start getting excited and you're showing your friends the phone? It gives you more information about that student. So that student, let's say that what they do is they turn to their friend and now they get their friend distracted with the learning. Now I know, oh, that student is wanting to create stimulus other than the learning itself. I can solve this problem by having the student sit next to me.
Okay. Whereas the first one, if they put it away, they knowingly defied my authority, even though it didn't hurt anything. So now they had to be punished to send a message to the others.
They're human beings. I mean, if it was a 5-second, if you were in a meeting and someone in the meeting for 5 seconds looks at their phone, I mean, don't you just assume they had a reason that they need to look at their phone for 5? I mean, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I mean, that's nothing.
That's exactly what I was thinking. Yeah, if someone's on their phone in a meeting, it would be totally unprofessional, and everyone would be like, what's going on? But or they're purposely sending a message that they're not interested in what's going on. But yeah, like 5 seconds, you assume that they had an important email or text or something that they had to check, or they're worried about something, and then now they're back engaged.
Right. And so if you take time to wait, and if that's hard for you, count to 10. Nothing is going to be destroyed in 10 seconds. Wait.
Like short of a fight.
Even then, unless it's actively a fight. Obviously, if kids are actively going to get hurt, you're going to react. But you don't want to react. You want to prevent. You want to figure out why the behavior is happening. And now that you have this behavior plan that all the kids know and trust, right? We're not talking the first 5 days of school anymore. We're talking everyone gets how the plan works. Now you have time to figure out what's going wrong. Okay, so that was see, that can't go on a listicle.
It kind of could.
Well, I think this is better.
I think so too.
You want to ask me what number 2 is?
What's number 2 on the listicle?
So to remember that you are the solution manager as the teacher, not the solution finder. So you might set all of this up and things might not go right. Whatever you created might not work. And your job is to realize that you're in a hole and to look up and ask for help. And part of that help obviously is going to be other teachers, it's going to be your administration, but it should also be the students. It doesn't make sense at the secondary level to have 7 different social contracts, which is 7 different classes. But it could be that you have one class where the students need to have a voice in creating the behavior management plan. Or that parents need to have a grander voice in creating the behavior management plan. So if whatever you create doesn't work, your job is to find resources that will help you create a plan that will work.
Well, this is after you've counted to 10 and observed what the problems are, or?
This is like day 5, day 6. The plan should start to feel like it's working. It shouldn't necessarily be perfect every time, but it really should feel like it's starting. The behavior management plan should manage the behaviors. And if it's not, then it's time to make a new behavior management plan. This is still really new into the school year. Now you can do this in January. You can do this in February. It's just, if you know you have something that doesn't work in the beginning, let's change it to something that does, and let's find people and resources that can help us make that happen. And a lot of schools, a lot of districts have people on staff or available to you at the county or state level who can come in and observe and help you make this plan. Sometimes teachers are too narrow focused and think too much like a one-room schoolhouse, when really one email could get them a lot of help.
So what's that look like? I'm having trouble picturing what you're talking about here.
Okay, so I happened to have a class several years ago. They were a unique group of students, and they didn't want the man telling them what to do. And no matter how much I tried to make an us, we are us, I was like the man. And I had an outside person come in, and I had an outside person come in for one day. And as a team, we all had this person lead us into writing a behavior management plan. The kids helped come up with essentially the consequences. We all signed the document. It wasn't led by me. It was led by someone else. And then that person, we all agreed, well, what's your teacher's role going to do? And then the next day, that person came back. And when kids violated the contract, that person was I needed someone to be
They were the man.
They were the man. And I was like, okay, or they would catch, we kind of purposely, that they would catch me and they'd be like, no, that student just violated the plan. Your job as a teacher is. Teachers think that's giving away their power. But at a certain point, you need to realize when you don't have the power and create a way to get it back, right?
I mean, you always have the power, but your power kind of sucks, right? Because you can always cause discipline to happen. You can always send them to the office. You can always...
That's true.
Escalate to suspension or whatever. But you're not being a good teacher if you do that.
Yes.
I mean, when it's more than is necessary, I should say. I'm not saying that that's disqualifying. But, if your answer to every discipline problem is you will respect my authority, and if you don't, then you're going to stand out in the hall for the entire class. Yeah, it's a form of authority, but it's much less effective and powerful than what you're talking about there and what we've talked about before of becoming the us instead of the us versus them.
Right. It's important to realize that if your plan as a teacher is to just stand in front of your class and lecture, you don't need any of what I've talked about. Everything we have talked about is about how do I create small groups? How do I let students take over ownership of the learning? How do I make this a collective effort where we learn as a team? I mean, this is about creating a small scale learning environment where you are not the sole person responsible for the learning. And so you need these structures. If you're going to let kids learn in small groups, they need this structure. Whereas old school doesn't need it.
I don't really know, but just from my experience, imagination, even a stand-in lecture, I think, would be better off with some of the stuff that you talked about. I mean, if your goal is to have kids be subservient to your authority, then, good work, I guess. You could be a great drill instructor, probably.
Well,
but if your goal is to have them learn the go stand in the hall thing anytime you check, I catch you checking your phone, it's good at getting them to do what you say, I guess.
Well, learning is not listening.
Right.
So if you want your kids to learn, learning feels, I don't know if you've tried to learn like a new language recently or, when you're, sometimes as adults, we forget that learning feels uncomfortable. If you're genuinely learning, it's like working out. If you are genuinely making your body learn to do something it couldn't do before, it's not a pleasant experience, right? It feels uncomfortable. So if your students are genuinely engaged in learning, they're choosing to be slightly uncomfortable for the betterment of their future.
Yeah, foreign language is a good example. Like, this is a little tangential, but like I was in Paris and there are people all around me speaking all sorts of some sort of language, probably French. And I could literally sit there for the rest of my life very quietly in hearing the sounds that they were making and not interrupting them. And I could do that for another 70 years and not learn French at all, right? Like, in order to learn it, I would have to like engage my slow brain and think about what the sounds meant as I was hearing it, and it sucks. Like, it's work. Like you say, it feels like exercise. But
right.
That's kind of how a classroom is too, you think, right? Is like they could sit there and be quiet and listen and hear the words that you say and be able to repeat them back to you, but that doesn't mean that they really learned anything from it.
An extremely perfect classroom where a group of 13-year-olds don't naturally look like a group of 13-year-olds, they're not probably learning. It might look very good, but 13-year-olds who are genuinely learning, they wiggle, they make noise, they're excited, they're then very intense and very quiet and very calm. I mean, they have a lot less control over what their physical body does while their brain is engaged.
I always would like not play with my hair, but I'd like just kind of mess with my hair. Like my fingers would be in my hair whenever I was thinking hardest.
Yes, they do something like that. And the older they get, the less it happens. But that's why you need all this. Okay, we got off on a tangent.
It was a good one, though.
It is a good one. Okay, number 3.
I'm going to go listen to French until I know it. Number 3.
Number 3, treat the students like equals.
I think we've already kind of touched on this a little bit, but...
We touched on this a little bit, but essentially, right, my boss is my boss. We get that his role is to tell me what to do.
So you're not equal?
But we are equal.
How?
Because my opinions and emotions and feelings and my autonomy as a person is just as important as his emotions and beliefs and autonomy. And there is an acknowledgement that we are both humans and therefore we are both naturally equal. Even though his role in the game is to tell me what to do, and my role in the game is sometimes to do what I'm told. So
some would even call that a self-evident truth.
Oh.
That everyone is created equal.
Yeah, I think I've read that somewhere.
There's inalienable things that come along with it. But yeah, okay, this plugs into your awesome them type philosophy it kind of goes into a little bit of our tangent even, so that's nice. It wasn't a tangent, it was a segue. Is that kind of drill instructor mentality is it's your job in this classroom, student, is to serve me, the teacher, and complete the work that I assign you as a teacher, almost like a house servant, like a Downton Abbey, right? Like you show up and you do what I say because that's your job, basically, and that's not really the attitude that would foster the not us versus them. It's my job to make sure that the class can learn and we stay on task and that the behavior plan happens. So to some extent, I get to tell you what to do because of that, but it's not just because you don't have to. You're here to learn, and I'm here to give you the environment to learn, not I'm here to make you learn because that's what I want.
It's very easy when you're in the heart of particularly needing to use your behavior management plan to not get frustrated and say things like, I told you to. It's so easy, and if you just kind of cue into your mind, I'm going into a situation in those 5 seconds where you're waiting to see what the student does.
Where you're kind of mad.
Yeah, you got to go into this situation and say, this isn't about me. They are a human being that has a reason for doing what they're doing. And I am a human being whose job it is to help guide them from where they are to where we need to go. And if I say or do things that suggest that I or the rest of the class is more important than them, I mean, they will get defensive and they will make it worse. It doesn't matter if they're a young child or maybe it's why it's an inalienable right. There's something in someone that if they feel like you are degrading who they are, they will make the situation worse.
It's almost like you're not making it personal. It's business.
Oh yeah.
Like, these are the rules. And
that's what the poster says.
But if you do that, well, I told you, and now you're disrespecting my authority, and now I'm taking that personally. That can work, because then they get scared that you're mad, and sometimes people that are scared will listen better. But like, it doesn't improve things. You're gonna find yourself probably reliant on that too much if you go down that path.
Who wants to work for a boss who acts like they're better than you or more important than you?
Sure.
Like, who wants that? No one wants that boss.
Right.
So,
and if we're talking,
don't be that teacher.
If any listeners are thinking like, well, this is all like new age feel-goodery with no consequences and just love and stuff, and that kids need discipline. Business works more like what you're saying than the sit down and shut up model. Like, nothing is ever personal in the corporate workplace. Or if it is, something bad is happening, and it's all like, well, is this like, what are our goals, and is what you're doing contributing to our goals? No. Okay, then stop. Right? It's not because I told you to, so really. And if it is, then you're right. It's that person would generally be considered a bad boss. Nice.
Look at that. So the business world is kind of, the TV doesn't always depict business accurately either then.
Nothing's universal, but every corporation goes through all these like survey things of like, do we have engaged employees and stuff. It's an at least an important element of every workplace is to, and even like you said, this like one of the classic engagement questions is like, do my opinions at work matter? And if you say no, that's bad.
For your boss.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So, number 4.
Number 4. This is the one that we won't believe, I think.
You won't believe.
You won't believe how simple this is.
It's so simple, and yet I tell teachers to do this one all the time, and they declare they cannot. It is impossible. If behaviors are going off rails, it doesn't matter what month it is, take one day, and every time you talk, make a tally. And every time you talk for 3 minutes, uninterrupted, make another tally. And then the next day, cut your tallies in half.
To talk half as many times and talk long half as many times, or talk long half as long?
Yes.
Which one?
But
I'm going to talk for 3 minutes half as many times, or I'm going to talk for a minute and a half?
Let's say you make 500 tallies in a day. The next day, you're only going to talk 250 times.
Okay.
One of teachers' biggest problems is they talk too much.
Too much talk.
Too much talk. So, for example, we're trained that, like, when you're teaching kids the routines and procedures, you're supposed to narrate. Jared picked up his pencil. You pick out the kid that's doing what they're supposed to.
You've done that before, like demonstrating your behavior management plan.
Right. Narration teaches, but it doesn't build habit. If you want to build a habit, like if you want kids to be silent when they enter the room, or you want kids to be silent during testing, then you need to also be silent. Like, nothing will make a group of kids start whispering more than when the teacher doesn't do with the expectation also. Stop talking. If you say directions once and they're written on the board, or they can read them because they're old enough to read, or if they're not, there's a picture cue, say it once and then don't talk. And if the kid doesn't remember what to do and they come and ask you, don't answer. Point to the screen where you have it written, or point to the picture that reminds them what to do. If you want to build habit where kids don't need you so much to take care of them, then you have to stop talking.
And it's not, so for a second there, I was thinking, well, it's just because you want the classroom to be silent. But no, really, it's not even so much as stop talking as it is like stop handing them the answers to things that they already have knowledge or research. Like they have to almost practice getting it the right way or doing it the right way without you relying on you to simply like follow them and nudge them on the correct path every time they start to deviate from it.
Do you want to build the habit when kids are in small group that the way that they get back on track is that you, the teacher, come around and tell them to get back on track? Because that's the habit you'll build.
Your tone makes it sound like a bad idea.
Instead, if they're off track and they need to be brought back on track, go to their paper and put your finger on their paper and tap and say nothing. Then the habit becomes, we're off track. Let's look down at our paper and get back on track.
Or even better, some of the students can learn when they themselves feel like they're off track to look at the paper.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Little kids, it's like magic sauce. Mm-hmm. If you make the thing that it's, we're going into quiet mode. We're all going to put on our coats and our gloves and our mittens and we're going to do it silently. And you model doing it silently. And now we all turn into mimes and we all do it silently. They will. You talk to one kid and now all of a sudden then the whispers will start and they'll all start talking. And then you'll be like, stop talking. We're not supposed to be talking. Well, you're the one that was. So.
But you could revert to authoritarian and be like, well, but I'm the teacher, so I have the right to talk. I talk, you be quiet.
You don't have time
it's just
for
not,
that.
It's not as, right, it's not as easy, it's not as effective as just harnessing this social animal instinct of not talking when no one else is talking, including you.
Right.
Okay.
So, and that's why when people think, I want to work a 40-hour work week, I build in all of these times into my day where I have 2 or 3 minutes to do something else because my kids are doing something where they do not need.
By design.
By design.
And there's never a way for authoritarian to have that.
Never. Because if you leave, they are stuck.
The only thing that's causing them to not just be completely wild is your assertion of your authority as soon as you turn your back.
Right. And so I probably I wouldn't be shocked to find out I make an additional 45 minutes.
You get like an extra planned period.
In my day that's just in little 3 to 5 minute chunks. But as a teacher, we never have time to go to the bathroom. I mean, that is huge for teachers. So cut your talking in half.
What's the next thing on our list?
Get a bell.
Get a bell.
Get the bell. This is like...
We're really leaning into this Pavlovian
it is
social animal alpha pack thing now, huh?
Yeah. So at the elementary level, I use chimes because elementary kids, one single bell sound is not going to do it for you. So I play these chimes just like if you ever go to like theater, which I know you don't go to, but if you went to the
theater,
once.
I know what she's talking about.
Like, they play the little gong thing.
Instead of walking out on the stage and going like, excuse me, everybody, excuse me, because you stopped talking, they play like this bright sound that carries over it and everyone, the person's...
No, that's not it. You're out in the lobby getting a beverage, or you're in the female line because see, as a male you would just go right in, but the women are in this long line trying to go to the bathroom, and they'll come in and they'll walk around and play those chimes, and that's the cue. We all got to get back to our seats. Kids are the same way. And then at the secondary level, I just had like a hotel bell, and so rather than tell everyone that you need to tell them something, because if you don't talk very much, when you do talk, kids will listen. Right? We have a teacher in our past from high school who, when you wonder why did everyone listen, it's because if you don't talk very much.
That was his secret?
Yeah. I don't think
his or her secret, because I don't know who you're talking about.
And so if you get a bell and you ding the bell and then just wait for it to be silent and then you talk, everyone will hear the direction. You never need to repeat it. This is how you can interrupt the class, and you're not going like, oh, I forgot something. Get yourself a bell. It's like magic sauce. It's amazing.
All right. Okay. That's actually maybe the one that should be the you won't believe number 5 on the list then.
Oh.
I should have picked that one.
Okay. I don't know how listicle works, so.
It's probably for the best. Is that, do we have a number 6? Is that the end of the list?
That's it. That's the end of the list.
Should we recap?
Recap.
You're gonna wait and watch.
Yeah.
You're gonna count to 10.
Yeah.
Not immediately, like second week type stuff, right?
You're sure that the routines and habits are built, and so it's safe for you to
Because
wait and watch.
You don't need to think about how to respond. You can think about why the thing is happening, and this will help you figure out ways to interdict it in the future.
Yep.
Number 2.
You are the solution manager, not the finder. Reach outside your bubble. If whatever behavior plan you made isn't working, it's time to get help and rewrite it.
And you're going to use the things that you've observed as wise, right?
Yeah, but there are resources for you.
Number 3.
3. You need to treat the students like equals.
Equals.
Yes. My role is to be the leader, and your role is to be a student that guides your learning and directs your learning. And we have our roles, but that doesn't mean you don't matter just as much as myself.
What I want isn't more important than what you want, just because I'm in charge.
Right. We have to work together.
You might not be able to get what you want. I might have to stop you from getting what you want because it'll be disruptive to our collective classroom goals of learning. But,
right.
But it's not just because I'm important and you're not.
Right. Correct.
Number 4.
Stop talking.
Stop talking.
If
We're getting a little long in the tooth in this particular podcast. We should probably listen to our own advice. And then number 5, the magic one.
Get yourself a bell.
Get yourself a bell.
Chimes.
And then they'll drool when you want them to. No, what they'll do is you have a way to call for quiet, basically, without having your voice do it, which can save your voice for giving instructions that will be listened to better because you use it more sparingly.
Yes, and you won't have to repeat yourself because everyone will be stopped and listening.
Which will keep you from getting less frustrated.
Yes.
And make them listen better.
Correct.
All right.
Thank you, Jared.
Thank you, Johanna. Teacher Talk, the podcast for teachers who are lifers but still want to have a life.